Hey guys, what's up? I'm Cam from the session team, and I got a quick question for you. Can I have your phone and also your password? Um, you might not want to say yes to that, but many people, potentially you yourself, are potentially giving people access to your personal information by not using an encrypted messaging app. Messaging apps are used by billions of people around the world every day. It's the most popular type of mobile application, and that's because communication is a core human need that's now facilitated in the digital age by messaging applications primarily. For some people, digital communication is their primary form of communication. And even if that's not you, it might not seem that crazy. I myself use messaging applications for hours and hours every day, countless times. So we require messaging apps to keep in touch with people. Even people that might live quite close by, people that we see quite often, we'll still often be communicating with them through messaging apps in digital spaces. And that's not even inclusive of people who might live overseas or far away from you don't get to see very often. Whereas our communication primarily used to be face-to-face with those around us, now a lot of our communication is digital and it's mediated by the companies who create the software that we use to communicate with each other. This can cause problems and it requires a lot of trust. Many messaging apps are not end-to-end encrypted, and even the ones that are may not have it turned on by default, which basically means that it's not end-to-end encrypted because 95% of the people who are using these apps aren't turning it on manually. This puts a lot of trust in the people that are creating these applications and running the infrastructure, the servers that sends the messages, the photos, the videos, other files, because all of that stuff is accessible to the people who own the company and have access to those servers. Even a messaging app which is end-to-end encrypted may still create, collect, and share information about you, information that relates to the conversations that you're having, such as who you're talking to, when you're talking to them, how often. So I'm gonna give you 3 reasons why I personally think that you should be using a private messaging app if you're not already. So reason number 1, you wanna be able to talk online the way that you do in person. Just imagine this for a second. Just close your eyes and imagine walking down the street, talking to your mate. Some dude behind you just listening to everything that you're saying. Pretty creepy, pretty weird. This is exactly what's happening when you're using messaging apps that aren't end-to-end encrypted. And it's actually worse than that because not only is the dude behind you listening to everything that you're saying, they're writing everything down and storing it, and they've been doing so for all of your conversations for potentially years. When you're not using an encrypted messaging app, anything that you're saying online could potentially be listened to. Okay, so reason number 2. I think that everything that everyone says on the internet should be encrypted. I think that all private communication should remain private and not be able to be listened to or recorded by anyone else. But some things really, really should be private. And this goes for anyone, regardless of your threat model. One example would be activism. If you are trying to plan action which takes power away from powerful individuals or groups, they can, will, and do very commonly try to undermine you, and they will do that by trying to access your digital communication in order to disrupt the activities that you're planning. This happens in places like the US, the UK, Australia, more affluent nations, as well as far more commonly in places where this activism is far more greatly needed. In places around the world that have much more repressive governments in which these sorts of actions can be very dangerous and your physical safety often relies on your digital security. Another time that it's pretty important for some of your personal information to remain private, online dating. I know that sounds kind of weird because you probably want the person who you're chatting to on Tinder or Hinge to know who you are. But you want to release your personal and identifiable information to these people in a way that you're comfortable with at the time that you're comfortable with it. The usual way that this would work is that once you get to know someone a bit, maybe not at all, really, if they're a baddie, you just give them the phone number, The problem is, and this is particularly a problem for young women in online dating, is that that phone number can lead to a lot of other personal identifying information. It can even potentially lead to your address. Another one, pretty clear, pretty easy to understand for anyone, even if they're not particularly aware of the issue of digital privacy, are health data and medical information. Private messaging apps are essential, or encrypted communication online in general, essential for communicating this sort of information. And it's almost certain that your doctor, other medical professionals are using this sort of technology to communicate this information amongst themselves, or at least I hope they are. But yeah, 3 examples of some situations where it's absolutely necessary for encrypted communication to be used. And there are countless other ones, and I would be very surprised if you don't have a use case in your life where it's absolutely necessary the information that you're communicating online is encrypted. Third and final reason why I think that you should be using a private messaging app are fuck big tech. Zuckerberg, Bezos, Gates, Musk, nightmare blunt rotation, and also some of the most rich and powerful people in the world on account of your personal data being harvested and commodified and sold. Tech is the biggest industry in the world, the most profitable industry, and that's the business model, is just taking your and my information and commodifying it and selling it, primarily advertisers. Using privacy tech in general, and especially an encrypted messaging app, will allow you to wrest back some control from these people and send a message to big tech that you don't want to put up with that anymore. You don't want to be commodified. You don't want to line their pockets with your personal information. There is a growing movement around the world, the digital privacy movement, that you are a part of if you use private messaging apps or any other sort of privacy tech. This movement's growing all the time, and we're changing the internet. We're changing the way that people live in digital spaces. You're welcome to join, and one of the best ways that you can do that, one of the easiest ways, is to just download an encrypted messaging app and protect your personal information from these companies. So yeah, 3 pretty good reasons why you should definitely be using a private messaging app in 2023. I would be pretty surprised if none of those reasons resonate with you or have some relevance to your life. So yeah, take some control back from big tech, protect your personal information, use a private messaging app like Session. And yeah, thanks for joining me. I'll catch you next time.